Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how you can run Magento 2 on your Mac using Docker. I have it running here. It's all running inside Docker containers, and I will go through the steps that are necessary to do this justice. Okay, first I will stop my containers here and then we start from scratch. This some of the operations might take a while, and I will skip through them through power of editing afterwards. And excuse me for my slow computer here. The screen sharing is taking its toll and eats up a lot of performance. I will destroy the containers. And I will also remove the project folder here. So it's gone. So what you need on your Mac to run Magento 2 in Docker is obviously Docker, then Docker machine, and last but not least Docker Compose. I have them installed here, but I will show you how you can install them on your Mac, and you can do this with the Docker Toolbox. You can just download it from the Mac. There it is. Just open it. And go through the installer. Okay. And afterwards you will have Docker machine installed, Docker Compose, not Compose there, Compose, and Docker. Docker version. Okay. And since Docker is not natively supported on Macs, you need to create a virtual machine using Docker machine to run Docker, and then connect your Docker engine or your Docker client to the Docker engine inside the virtual machine. You can do that with Docker machine here, Docker machine ls. I happen to have one already in here, but I will delete that for now. Docker machine rm default. Okay. And then we will create a new virtual machine for Docker. Docker machine create, select the driver of VirtualBox and give it a name, and we will just call it default. What this will do is it will create a VirtualBox VM, set up SSH keys for communicating to the Docker daemon, and yeah, that's basically it, and start the machine. we can have a look at the VirtualBox client and see that there's something happening in the background. Docker machine works pretty much like Vagrant, if you know that. And in the not so far future, there will be I think a more elegant way for macOS using Docker for Mac. I think this version will be prepared for Mac, and it will create virtual machines using, I think it's called Xhive instead of VirtualBox, and it's supposed to be easier to use and I think maybe even faster. Okay, the machine has been created, and to use it is telling us that we have to run this command, docker env default. Can do that. This is not actually doing anything, it's just printing out environment variables that need to be set so your Docker client can communicate to the Docker machine. So let's try if Docker is working. In this case, yes, but if that's not the case for you, you can just copy the last line and then execute it again, and then Docker should be connected to your machine. Okay, let's create a Magento project. We can do that with Composer. Composer create project. We ignore the platform requirements that are specified in the Composer JSON because they don't matter for us. All we need is Docker, and all the requirements only need to be met inside Docker and not on our host. Specify the repository URL. And then the package name, which is Magento/project community edition, and I will put it in the folder Magento 2. As you can see, all the packages are loaded from cache, and so it's pretty fast. If you are doing this for the first time, this will take much more time because every package has to be downloaded. And you might also be asked for credentials for accessing repo.magento.com. You can, just so you have seen it, can get these credentials from your Magento account. Go to magento.com, my account, and you go to connect, and then there's a secure keys section, and I happen to have one here, but you can create a new one. Just click create. And when Magento or Composer prompts you to paste in a username and password, you can use this ones, the public and private keys printed here. Okay, so we have created the Magento 2 project. Let's look in there. Everything is here. Okay. Next thing we do is we Dockerize it. For that, we go to github.com avato-scm, and there's a package called Dockerize Magento 2. And you can copy the installation instructions. It's just Composer, require, and then avato-scm Dockerize Magento 2. I'll paste this in here. Important again is the ignore platform regs argument, otherwise Composer will complain. And you can already see that this takes some time, and this is because I'm recording the screen here and my computer is not so happy about that. Okay, so now we have installed the Dockerize Magento 2 package, and we can see some new files in here. We have the Docker Compose YML. We do have, what else do we have? We have a config folder. Let's look, open it in Vim. So we have the Docker Compose file, which defines the infrastructure. We do have PHP MyAdmin, Redis cache, MySQL 5.6, an app data container, which is just for fixing permissions, a PHP container that is built from a Docker file that we will review soon or next, and the Nginx container bound to port 80 and 443. That is the Docker Compose file, and then we have the config folder with our configuration parameters. For example, the Nginx site definition for the website, or the PHP container image, which uses a standard PHP FPM container and adds missing components that are required to run Magento 2. And then the MySQL container, which basically is the standard MySQL container, which with a custom startup script, again for permission, for setting permissions. We do have an env.sh file, which contains some environment variables. Let's see here, which are used for the installation of Magento. You can change them if you like, but you need to change them before you trigger the installation. And last but not least, a small console tool, which is located in the bin folder. And this tool offers some convenience functions for starting, stopping the containers, and for triggering the installation that we will use soon. And also an exec action, which will then execute bin Magento inside the Docker container. Let's test it out. Before we can use it, we will need to make it executable. And there it is, bin console. So there are actions for install, exec, start, stop, status, and restart. So starting will start the infrastructure, stop, and so on. It's quite obvious. And to Dockerize Magento, we need the install action. The install action wants a host name as a parameter, so I give it one, docker local in my case. You can choose whatever you like. Docker local is the I have put that into my host file, and this is not the local host IP, but this is the IP address of the Docker machine. Since you have to keep in mind on Macs, the Docker client is running inside a virtual machine and not directly on a host. So if your IP address might vary, you can get the IP address using Docker machine IP and then the name of your machine, and that this is the IP address. To get a feeling about what Docker machine actually is, you can also use Docker machine SSH to SSH into the virtual machine and have a look what's running here. No, it's not top in here. and you can see the users folder, and this one is mapped directly from my host into the virtual machine. So all files are synced between your host and the Docker machine. So let's start the installation. Bin console install docker.local. It will generate some SSL certificates for you that are used for HTTPS, and then it will start the containers, which are defined in the Docker Compose YML, and download those containers that it does not have yet. And this might take a few minutes. So this one was the PHP myadmin container. Now it's downloading Redis. This is reasonably fast. And you only have to do this once. And sometimes if you want to download updates for the containers. And I always say containers, but that's not right. It's downloading the Docker images from which containers are created. So it's downloading a Redis image and not a container. So now it has downloaded Redis and MySQL. And now comes the biggest part. In this case, it's the PHP image. The download is quite fast. So we are downloading the standard PHP 7.0 FPM image as the base image for our customized image. And then we will add add the missing components to the image so we can use it for Magento 2. And since this will compile the different plugins like Xdebug and I don't know what not, this will take a long time, and I will skip through that as well. Okay, the build of the PHP image has been finished. It took about 10 minutes. And now it's downloading Nginx and starting all containers. So we can see PHP admin, MySQL, PHP, and web are started. And now the installation will be triggered using the normal bin Magento install action. Okay, the installer has finished, and we can see the URLs of the Magento shop, the front-end URL and the backend URL, as well as the credentials for the backend. So let's test that if it does work. Yes, it does. calling it the first time always takes a little bit longer, and especially as I'm recording my screen here. Please take that into consideration. And let's test the backend. You will get an SSL warning since it's a self-signed SSL certificate. You can exchange that if you like. The username is admin, and the password you can see from the installer here, or you can also find it in the config env.sh in this environment variable. Let's log in. And there we have our Magento backend. Okay, great. What I forgot to mention here is when we created our Docker machine, that Docker machine uses the default VirtualBox share technology for syncing your host files with the virtual machine. And this is not so fast. So if you run into performance problems, you can upgrade your machine to use NFS shares, which are much faster. And I can quickly show you how you can do that. There's a tool called Dockerize. No, it's called Docker Machine NFS. You can find it on GitHub. And you can just copy the installation instructions, which will download you the Docker Machine NFS script. And then you can upgrade your existing machines to NFS using Docker Machine NFS and the name of your machine. Let's try that. So for me, it says it's already installed, but that's all you have to do. And then this will dramatically improve the performance of the file sync. So let's install some sample data into our Magento instance. We can do that with bin console exec. Bin console exec is just a proxy to bin Magento inside the PHP container, and you can see all the commands that are offered by the standard bin Magento script of Magento. And let's install sample data using sample data deploy. And now it's asking for our credentials that we can paste them in again. Still have that open here. No, I don't. Go to magento.com. Go to my account. Connect. And then secure keys. And I can use the sample one I just created there. Username is the public key and the private key is the password. And then Magento will download all the sample data packages. Yes, I want to store the credentials, so it will not ask us again. Next, we need to install the extension, the sample data modules using setup bin console exec setup upgrade. And every time we install something or upgrade Magento, it asks us to run the compile command. We can do that using bin console exec setup di compile. Now we should have some products in our shop. Let's reload the page. You have a running Magento 2 instance with sample products running inside Docker. That's great. Okay. Let's see the status of our containers. Bin console status. All of them are running except the app data one, and that's fine that it's this one is not running. This one is just used to fix permission issues inside Docker. We can also use Docker Compose to view the status of our containers. And we can see the list of our containers. The cache container, Redis, only with an internal port number, the same for MySQL, PHP FPM. PHP MyAdmin is bound to port 8080 on the local host. Let's test that out. The local 8080, and there's PHP MyAdmin. You can also log in using credentials. We can see them in the config.env.sh file, and the root password is the same one as the backend one. Just log in. There we have PHP MyAdmin. Okay. And of course, the web container is bound to port 443 and 8080 on the local host. Actually, it's not the local host because it's the virtual machine. But that's how it is on macOS. Next, we are gonna install an extension to our installation. Let's do that using Composer. Require ignore platform requirements, and we are gonna install an extension which allows us to send emails from our container. Since Magento normally uses a local SMTP gateway, we need to install an extension to be able to send out emails. Okay, that was quick. But what's not quick, we need to run the setup again, setup upgrade, before we can use the extension. And it again wants us to run the compile command again, but I will not do that now. See, here's our module. let's have a look at the back at in the backend if we can find the module. I think we are signed out here, maybe not, but yes, we are. Admin, and the password was this one here. Let's check if we can find the module in the configuration. And I believe it's under advanced and then system. And there it is. We have installed an external Magento 2 module into our Dockerized Magento 2 instance. The only thing left to do is to show you how you can debug Magento from your host using a Dockerized setup. For that I will use PHP Storm. We will open our project folder, which is Magento 2. First, we have to configure PHP Storm. Preferences, first the PHP interpreter. We're using a PHP 7. Our interpreter on this system here is only 5.5, but doesn't really matter. We can, since we are not running the code on the host, this does not really affect us. PHP debug settings should all be fine. You can use the standard settings. Composer, yes, we want to use that. That's user local composer, I think. And the path to the composer JSON is, of course, the project. Default interpreter. Okay, let's try. Okay. It's complaining that we have not turned the project into a Git repository, but we can ignore that for now. And now we want to debug some code. So configure the debugger, create a new debug configuration, PHP web application. Give the name, I use Docker local is the host name of the Magento shop that I have here. Add a server, call that also Docker local. And now the path mapping. This is really important. So you are able to debug. Since the code is executed remotely on a different machine, so to say, and you need to have a path mapping. And the path inside the Docker container is var www HTML. So the whole project folder is mapped into the folder var www HTML inside the Docker container. You can check that if you want. You can do that. Import PS. You can go into this container using docker exec. terminal interactive, the name of the container name, Magento2 PHP 1, and we want to bash. And the working directory is var www.html, and we can see all our files in here. So that's it. You see all the files here, and every time you make a change in your project folder, let's do that here. Magento2, create the file maybe. Okay, do it like this. Simpler. I just call it this. We can see the file in here. There it is. So that's the path mapping for the debugger. Okay. Okay. And set a breakpoint somewhere. Just for simplicity, I will put it in the index PHP. And hit debug. No. Hit debug. And the breakpoint was hit, and we can see all the variables and so on. And with this, I believe you should have everything that you need to develop Magento 2 on your Mac using Docker. Thank you.